All right, this is going to be repair of this mower, which I'm going to call Sansa. If you guys are fans of Game of Thrones, you'll know who that name is. This is a Murray E450, very small print, 125 cc's, 4.5 pounds of gross torque. I bought this mower from a lady for, I think it was $30. She said it hadn't been used in a year or two. It was just sitting in a shed getting dirtier and dirtier. And it's pretty grungy. I've cleaned the air filter, but I wanted to show you what the air filter housing looked like to give you an idea of how dirty the air filter was. I scraped big chunks of grass, dirt, oil, and then I cleaned the filter, so now it's clean. And what I do is to get the dirt, oil, and grass out, the first thing I do is hit it with old gasoline. So I soak it in a can, like a Folgers can or a metal can, with an inch or two of old gas in there, and let it soak, and then squeeze that out and rinse it, and then I just put soap and water, and that's what Briggs recommends, is soap and water detergent. And because these are very, very porous, and that's how they breathe, they dry pretty quickly. So I've just got this thing sitting here right now drying. You can see there's a lot of dirt and grunge built up on this mower. I wanted to show you some of the things I noticed right away, and that was the air filter, and the knobs have been installed wrong. So let's take a minute and look at that. We're going to repair one or reinstall it. If you've got a new mower you're bringing home from Walmart, you want to put these little knobs in the right way, because if you ever try to take them out, you may have problems if you don't do it the right way. Let me show you a close-up of this. The way I know this is installed wrong is the curve is up against this flat surface, okay? And that's a mistake. Now they did these correct up here on this part of the handle. The curve is on the curve. The handle is curved, and then this screw here is curved to stabilize it, so that when you tighten this, you brought your mower home, it's going to want to stay in place once you start to snug it up. But this is curved on this side too, so in theory you could put it either way. But here, this is a flat surface, so these are wrong. So let's see if I can get one out here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So just watch this, and we'll get it out. So the curved surface is on this side, so I'm going to undo this knob, unscrewing that. It's wanting to pop off. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of support this, and I'm going to flip it over. Okay, now the curve is going to be up against the curve of this handle, and that will stabilize it when this goes in. So let me show you this on the camera. Okay, so you can see the curve of that, and so you don't want it to be that way, because then the curve is not going to line up. And you want the curve to be this way, so that when it goes in, it's flush. And that way it's not going to want to turn when you tighten the knob. All right, so that's sort of the purpose of that. they put that on there so it'd be stable. It's going to be stable for you when you tighten this. So there's two levels here. First, you got to get it past these threads. So let's get that going. Okay, so now it's just kind of loosely on there. So then you hold it and put it on these threads. And now you can tighten it. And see, that's not going to spin around and turn on you because of that curve is holding it in place. All right, so let's do that on the other knob. And we'll have installed this handle correctly. Okay, now it's on the loose part, so I've got to pull on this knob the same time I'm turning it in order to engage the threads on that. And see, it's hitting the wheel. So that's the other problem with this, is that you're going to have difficulty taking this off. It's hitting the wheel. Let's see if I've got enough space. All right, what I'm going to have to do is lower the wheel to get this off of here, so let's do that. Actually, I'm going to go the other way and hold it in place that way, because at least now I'll be able to work with it. Let's see. I think I'm showing that in the camera. So I took this lever and I put it way down. It's not even in one of the settings. It's up against a square part with that plastic molded piece. So now I'm going to take a little of the pressure off this handle and kind of push on this. So that comes out now. Okay, so then we take our curved screw, we come in this way with it and line it up with that hole. Okay, and we don't want it that way. We want it to lay flush up against there, so we go that way. Now I can do this knob, get it started, then it engages the free area, and then it starts threading in again. So now that curve is going to hold it in place, and this knob is not going to interfere with this wheel if I ever need to take it off or store it or whatever. Okay, so the knobs are on the inside, so that's the correct way to do that. All right, so what's next with this mower? Well, it's got gas in it, and it's probably old. But I do want to see if this engine is going to fire. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move it out here to the open area, and I'm going to squirt some starter fluid in here. And this is the way to do that. There's two holes here. There's this hole up top. There's the primer bulb, and then there's the hole you want to squirt the starter fluid in there. It's sort of a slot off to the side, and that's where the carburetor is, and that's where you want your starter fluid to go in. And it doesn't take much, just a little, like 1 second blast, because it's under pressure, and it shoots it in there, and we'll pull the cord and see if this thing fires. I don't expect it to run, but it might. I just don't expect that because the gas is probably old. But let's see what happens. Let me go get my starter fluid. Hang on. Okay, this is Shop Pro starting fluid, but you can also use carb cleaner. It's the same. It's an aerosol carb cleaner or starting fluid will work. All right, let me swing the camera around where it's out here in the open area and get this mower on the ground, and we're going to see if she fires. Let me change this height adjustment on one of the knobs here. it did fire, didn't run. That's probably because the gas is 2 years old. But I think this mower bait may be okay. All right, so we're gonna check this thing out a little further. Let me hang on with me. I'm gonna turn on the overhead light. All right, next we're gonna take off the rewinder, which is a combination of this little decorative plastic plate here. These things drive me crazy because there's a 5/16 nut that is buried under this thing. It's hard to get to. Let me get my gloves on and we'll start going into this thing. I want to check the flywheel key and make sure it's not sheared. I don't always do that, but I often do that. So let's get our little 5/16 here. I may use my electric drill on this, but will do. The other thing, I want to make sure that there's not a mouse nest under here. Because often they are when they've been stored in a shed or something like that for a couple of years without being run. The mice just love to get up in there around the coil and behind the carburetors, their favorite spot. All right, now this is tricky. You got to sort of pry this off of here, get it to flip up. You may have to use a screwdriver, and you may break it. These things are really, I hate the way they made these. So I'm going to push under here and see if I can pop that little lip out. Okay, I got one side off, see? See that little thing there? That little ear. So let me see if I can get this one down. And then I can flip this back. Okay, now I can flip this back. And see, it doesn't want to lift, but there's another screw back there. It's got to come out, so I'm going to kind of get it out of the way. There we go. I think I'm doing that right. Is that coming out of there? Not even sure. Man, I'll be touching it. Let's try it again. Yeah, I don't think it was even touching it. Now I think I'm getting it out. I think I've got it loose. So I'm going to carefully lift this up because I'm looking for critters. There goes a big old spider. Looking for black widows. Don't see any. Let's see where my little friendly spider went. I do not see him. See, he's waiting. There he goes. All right, so got rid of him. You never know, maybe he's a poisonous one. I'm gonna look at this kill switch. That works great. All right, I'm gonna pop off the nut that holds the starter cup on here and look at this flywheel key. I like to use a impact wrench for this. Good to use hearing protection when you do this. Just take a quick look under here. Okay, the flywheel key looks like it might have been bumped a little bit. I'll show you what I'm talking about. See that flywheel key is probably okay. It probably run okay. But the edge of that flywheel key should line up with the edge of the groove in the crankshaft, and it does not. So she's hit something with it. So there's the center. That's the center of the crankshaft right there. And that's this groove right there should line up perfectly with that, and it's off a little bit. So I know I'm kind of nitpicking here, but that spark is not going to be arriving at the exact time it should be. So let's get this thing off. I don't think it'll be too hard to get off because I don't see a bunch of crud around it. But let's go ahead and get it off. So let me get a copper slug to put on the top and protect. I'm going to protect the top of that crankshaft. I'm going to lay this little copper slug on here. Take the engine brake off. Take the spark plug off. There we go. Get that out of the way. Let me get something to hold the engine brake and kill switch down. I use a little clamp for that. Got that held down now. Get my impact wrench out of the way. There we go. Now I'm gonna put the nut on and put it down about 4 or 5 turns. Put my little copper slug, or old copper penny before the 1980s, and get my big hammer. And what I'm going to do here is reinstall this key because it's not sheared, but it's been bumped, and I don't really like that. So let me see if I can get in here without having to take the core off. Let's see what happens. Okay, that one didn't work. Go around one time. You come in with a screwdriver or something flat, put it, the engine head as a fulcrum, push down. Let me get a bigger screwdriver. So I'm putting this under the bottom edge of the flywheel, and then using the engine head as a fulcrum. Okay, that did it. So now let's unscrew this thing and get this flywheel off of here. We're going to check out this flywheel key. I'm probably going to flip it over. Right, that's all looking good. Let me get this around to where I get on this side. Because I have spun this around so the groove is now on this side. So I'm going to line up the groove on the flywheel with that. I've got to get past the little coil. Okay. And now, see, those edges are perfect now. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See, the edges of the crankshaft and the edges of that flywheel groove are in perfect alignment. And now I'm going to put the flywheel key in. Before they were not. Before, when I showed you that they were more like that. See, just slightly off. And now they'll be like that. And that spark will arrive at the correct time. There's not much of a groove in this thing, so it was just bumped a little. See if I can just pop it right back in place now. Okay, that's perfect. Let me show you. The edges of the flywheel and the edge of the crankshaft in perfect alignment. That's what you want. So I'll tell you what, we'll sign off now, and we'll come back for the next one.